Thank you to everyone for joining today's webinar from the Voluntary Benefits Shop webinar series. My name is Mike Walker. I'm the president of the Voluntary Benefits Shop. Today's webinar will be on the Transamerica Universal Life or Whole Life product with Living Benefit Rider. Matt Holden from Transamerica will be joining us today to help with this presentation. And again, I will be your host. Any questions that you have will need to be entered into the chat feature. All of you are muted, but you can enter questions into the chat feature, and questions will be addressed at the end of the webinar. Again, this is a webinar series. So at the Voluntary Benefits Shop, we host a webinar of this nature every other Thursday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. And towards the end of this webinar, I'll share a schedule of some of the upcoming webinars that you may want to be a part of as well. So thanks again for joining today. And with that, we will get started. So Matt, if you could go to the next slide. So again, guys, the Voluntary Benefits Shop, if you're not familiar with us, what we do every day is we help brokers and clients with their voluntary benefits needs. We provide expertise, product recommendations, enrollment solutions, and support for those voluntary benefit programs. Again, my name is Mike Walker. I am the president. We started the firm back in 2013 and have worked with thousands and thousands of companies since that point, making their programs the best that they can be with voluntary benefits. If you have a need for us, you can see my contact information on the screen here, both email and office phone number and our website. I'll also share this at the end if you have some additional need to reach out to us. Next. So again, today we're going to be talking about the Life with Living Benefits program through Transamerica. And this is a program that's really, really popular. We use it a lot with our client base, and it's very popular with our client base, really for all demographics. And I think part of the reason is because there's so much of a need for this type of product out there. Things have really changed over the years. There's many people that are going through scenarios where they have a parent or a loved one that needs, care. And so this is the type of product that can really make a difference in that type of situation. Next. Again, Matt Holden is going to be our presenter from Transamerica today. Matt and I have known each other, for years. He's been at Transamerica for years. It's just a wealth of knowledge on this product and all of their resources. And you can see his contact information here if you have a need to reach out to him as well. And I will let Matt introduce himself in just a few slides when he gets ready to present his portion of it. Thanks, Matt, for joining us today. So here's just a brief agenda of what we're going to cover today. We're going to talk a little bit about caregiving in the benefits market, what people are really seeing out there in today's industry. We're going to talk about what employers are dealing with today, a little bit about an employee's experience when it comes to when they have a loved one that needs care. I'll share a couple of case studies with you, and then we'll really let Matt talk about Transamerica's solution for this type of product. Next. Okay, so the main thing to really consider is that the long-term care scenario, the need for chronic type care is difficult, right? Because number one, it's expensive. It's very expensive for someone to receive care in a nursing home or even in-home care as well can be very, very expensive. It can also be trying for a family when they're trying to provide care for someone in home as well, someone that they don't want to put in the nursing home or doesn't want to go to the nursing home. And the other thing is, even if you do try to get coverage for that through traditional long-term care options, they're very, very difficult to get at this point in time. They can be prohibitively expensive and for both employee and employer. And also they're tough to get. Like, you typically have to go through underwriting in that scenario. And so many times the people that are really most interested because they have a pre-existing condition aren't able to obtain coverage, or it's very costly for them to obtain coverage. The great part about the solution we'll talk about today is that it's guaranteed issue, and everybody between the ages of 18 and 80 can qualify for coverage. Next. So a couple of stats, and this is what's really going on in the workforce out there. And all of you in the benefits industry, that. We know this. We hear about the great resignation, right? I have conversations about this every day about employers trying to become as competitive as they can in the marketplace to try to keep their employees. And really, what this study says is that 58% of employers have responded to it by offering higher starting salary and wages. But the reality is that's not necessarily having the impact that they want, because 49% of executives report higher turnover than normal, and 84% said job openings are taking longer to fill. So raising the salaries isn't necessarily having the impact that people thought it would. A lot of it's about, what else they get by working, at the organization. And we know that because we're in the benefits industry. Employees are looking for a wide array of benefits, both employer paid and voluntary. They really perceive that voluntary benefit as a value add that they get through employment. And the other statistic that's interesting is that there's about 11 to 14% of lost productivity from employees due to the financial stress that they receive. And that stress can come from a lot of different scenarios. It can come from their own health, but it can also come from a loved one's health that needs care. And so if you think about it, when somebody's trying to manage care for someone at their own home, or care for a parent, or care for a spouse, that can be very trying from a financial perspective, as well as a mental health perspective. What this product can help do is it can help try to take away some of that financial stress. Next. And then beyond that, one of the other things to consider is that 1 in 5 caregivers in the U.S. is an unpaid caregiver. And so if you think about that, that's when someone's caring for a spouse or someone's caring for a parent. That's an unpaid caregiver or an informal caregiver. The great part about this product is it helps provide benefits for those informal caregivers. And the other thing to think about is how much time people spend with that care. 32% of caregivers report spending 20 plus hours a week providing care. That's a lot of care. And there's 34 million Americans have provided unpaid care to an adult age 50 or older in the last 12 months. So there's a lot of this happening out there in the world. Probably many of you know or have provided care in the past. Next slide. Sorry. Okay, so now we're going to share a couple of case studies. This is a group that we utilize this product for, financial services firms. So this was a relatively, a higher paid organization, financial services, white collar, 8 locations, 7 states. They were looking for a guaranteed issue long-term care option because of some of the health conditions of some of the, higher level employees there. They considered a defined contribution plan, but ultimately they went forward with just a voluntary program. We brought in the Transamerica Life with Living Benefits program. We offered a really high level of guaranteed issue, $150,000 worth of guaranteed issue, and created basically a pre-enrollment employee communication campaign that included links to recorded webinars, personal quotes for employees, as well as a link for them to schedule a call with a counselor either on site at their place of work or with our benefit education call center. The end result was we generated about 200, or we educated about 200 employees, and 75 of the employees participated. And in the end, that generated, I don't know if you can see this or if the bottom of the screen is blocking it, but it generated about $220,000 of annual premium with that case. So not only did we help a lot of employees, but it also provided a nice commission for the referring broker as well. Very significant 6-figure commission for the broker. Next case. So I don't want you to think it's just for white collar groups. Just for white collar groups. This is a blue collar group, a food processing company, about 298 employees. And in there, 52 employees participated, and we generated about $38,000 in premium in that case. So it works well even in the blue collar industry. Sometimes people think of long-term care as just a white collar, type of client or a type of demographic, but it also works well in that blue collar industry as well. And then lastly, last case study, I don't want you to think it's just for groups of over 100 or over 500. It can work for small clients as well. This particular case had 23 employees, 6 people participated, 4 covered their spouse, and we generated about $16,000 in total premium there. So again, a nice payday for the broker. But we also were able to help some people get guaranteed issue coverage for something that would help them in both a life insurance perspective and a long-term care or chronic care type of perspective. Next. So next, I'm going to turn it over to Matt and let Matt talk a little bit about Transamerica's product specifically. So Matt, thanks for joining us today, and I'll turn it over to you.
Thanks so much, Mike. I appreciate it. Really looking forward to working with all the folks on this call. I've been with Transamerica for just about 14 years as a regional vice president located up in the Northeast in the Boston area. But today, wanted to just give you a bit of an overview. Mike kind of set the groundwork with what we're seeing as a need out there in the marketplace. But I'm going to go into a little bit more detail with regards to exactly what Transamerica can offer with our life insurance product. So before I go into details on the product, just wanted to give a little bit of a history. You'll see the term chronic condition rider, as well as living benefits rider. And obviously, as we're going through this, we're talking a lot about the need for long-term care. So from a history standpoint, Transamerica used to have a rider which was called a long-term care rider and was filed as an LTC rider. A few years ago, what we did was refile it as a chronic condition rider for two primary reasons. Number one was that for enrollment or benefit communication standpoints, we're able to do an enrollment without having an addendum to our life insurance license for long-term care. So it just made the enrollment process much simpler. And then secondly, and more importantly, is that by filing it this way, it enables us to make payments regardless of whether the caregiver is a licensed caregiver or not. So always employees or people, if they require long-term care, they're trying to stay in their house as long as possible. They don't want to go into an assisted living facility or to a nursing home. And with COVID, that's become ever more important. So just wanted to give the background as to why it's filed as a chronic condition rider. And just so you have familiarity with that as I go through the presentation. So the chassis for the product is a universal life insurance product with the chronic condition rider. Some key features to the product is that it does provide flexible death benefit amounts. It's a fully portable contract, so employees, whether they leave a company or retire, are able to take the policies with them. It does complement term life insurance. A question that I get frequently from consultants that we work with, or a concern, is that it may cannibalize on basic term life with a supplemental buy-up. We've actually found the opposite to be true, because when we are offering an additional product like this, it's furthering the conversation with the employees regarding life insurance. And by furthering that conversation and identifying where the needs are, we've actually seen in many accounts an increase on the supplemental term life insurance, as well as this permanent life insurance option. The rates on this will never change due to age. So they are issue age pricing. So if an employee enrolls at age 45, and then continues making premium payments into the policy, though those policy premiums will never increase. Again, benefits can be used with no restrictions. The benefits under the chronic condition or living benefits rider are paid directly to the policyholder or to the beneficiary. They're not paid to a facility. And family options are available as well. We do have guaranteed issue coverage, as well as simplified issue coverage offered for employees, spouses, children, grandchildren. So there is the ability for that as well. All right, so now I'll go into a little bit more detail on that chronic condition rider and the extension of benefits. The way that it works is that it is an accelerated death benefit. So if a policyholder were to lose 2 of the 5 ADLs, or have cognitive impairment, we would accelerate 4% of their policy value per month for up to 50 months. And it would be 50 months if you include both the living benefit as well as the extension of benefits rider. So with that, you'd be able to receive up to 200% of your policy value. In addition to that, after 26 months, you can receive a paid up death benefit of 25% of your policy value. So the total potential benefits being paid would be 225% of your policy value. Like I mentioned before, there's no restrictions on how you use the money. These benefits are paid directly to the policyholder or their beneficiary to use as they see fit. And then you are able to receive the benefits even if the care is being provided by a loved one, such as a spouse, child, or friend. No licensed caregiver requirement. And just to reiterate on that a little bit more is I've personally dealt with that over the last couple of years. Unfortunately, right before COVID, my father-in-law, who's 80 years old, had fallen down the stairs into the basement of his house. And he's been wheelchair bound ever since. And my mother-in-law, who's not a licensed caregiver, has been caring for him. You know, fortunately, he has her, and she's been able to provide that care. But especially, like I mentioned before, with COVID, we wanted to avoid him going into a nursing home if at all possible. So for me, this is something really important. I think is one of the most important features of our product. With this universal life policy, you are also able to borrow against the cash value. That's not something we promote all that much, but it is available should the need arise. Guaranteed issue is available. There's no medical questions or blood tests. I will go through this with regards to the VB Shop's specific preferred underwriting offer in a couple slides. But just of note is that every group that you write with us, there is some level of guaranteed issue available. And even our most stringent underwriting offers, which is up to $500,000 for simplified issue underwriting, there's still no blood work or physical being done. So we do make the entry point really easy for employees to enroll in this benefit. And like I mentioned before, the policy is fully portable. So if you retire or change jobs, you can take it with you, and your premiums will never increase as you continue to make payments. So I know those percentages can be a little bit confusing. So with this slide, just wanted to give you an overview with a dollar amount example to show you how this would work. So if someone were to purchase a $100,000 life insurance policy with that living benefits rider, here are 4 different scenarios where there would be payouts. So the first one would be at the time of death. So obviously at its core, this is a life insurance policy. If the policyholder were to pass away, the beneficiary would receive that $100,000 death benefit. Another option is our terminal illness rider. So that's something where it's an accelerated death benefit, which would pay 75% of the face amount if a policyholder is diagnosed with a terminal illness. So in this scenario, would receive $75,000. And then these 2 at the bottom are our living benefits rider with the extension. So if a policyholder cannot perform 2 or more of the ADLs, they'll receive in this situation $4,000 per month or 4% per month for up to 25 months. At the 26th month, then the extension of benefits rider would kick in, which would pay them an additional $4,000 per month for an additional 25 months, taking them out 50 months. And then the final piece of it is that when that extension of benefits rider kicks in, the policyholders also have a $25,000 or 25% paid up death benefit. So with that, in this scenario, someone could have a $100,000 policy and ultimately be paid out $225,000. So to go more into underwriting, we have three different options here, and this is a special underwriting offer that Transamerica provides to the VB shop due to our longstanding partnership, especially in that mid-Atlantic area. So these are really some great benefits for you to be working with them alongside Transamerica. So under 100 life groups, there is $100,000 guaranteed issue for employees. Between 100 and 250 lives, that's also 100,000. And then once you get over 250 lives, then we offer up to 150,000 guaranteed issue. And as I mentioned before, there is spousal, child, grandchild coverage available as well. And that can go out from guaranteed issue for the spouse up to 15,000, and then for under 250 life groups, and then actually it's going to be 15,000 across the board with the underwriting offer, and then up to 100,000 on a simplified issue basis. And just to reiterate that as well, for simplified, there's still no blood work or physical done. So really it makes an attractive offer across the board. Mike,
hey, Matt, let me just add a couple of things to that. So guys, with our preferred underwriting offer, as you see here, to see the numbers, people often ask, well, what's the participation requirement? We don't really have a participation requirement. Our only requirement is really that it be an active enrollment, so there's not necessarily a participation requirement. It could be an enrollment on a platform. It could be an enrollment via our benefit education call center. It could be, enrollment done a number of different ways. We have a lot of different ways to do it. But if it's an active enrollment, we get these levels of guaranteed issue. I really only need 3 applications to establish a group. So that's why, like I said, don't think of it as it has to be a large group to be able to be somebody that can benefit from this, because certainly like smaller groups can benefit from this as well. And it does work on many of the platforms. I know that Matt's going to talk a little bit about that, as we go, but I just did want to chime in with those few notes on underwriting.
Thanks, Mike. Yeah, so to touch on the technology piece of it, with the life insurance, the permanent life insurance product tends to be one of the more challenging to put on a benefits administration platform or a technology platform. But Transamerica has been pretty innovative in our solution with that as well. So you'll see a few examples here of platforms where we do have the product built out. Kelly, which I'm sure many of you are familiar with, as well as some of the other more prevalent ones in the Mid-Atlantic, like Employee Navigator, East Central, Benefit Focus. We do have our platform, have our product built out on those platforms. The way that we've been able to put our product on some of the more challenging ones, like a Workday or ADP, is that we've built a structure with 5-year age-banded rates. So with the permanent life insurance, typically what we see is rates based on individual age, which had caused some issues for platforms. So by structuring it with 5-year age-banded rates, we are able to be put on more platforms out there. So don't want that to be something that stops you from talking about this product with your clients.
Hey, Matt, let me also add to that too, that guys, we actually helped set up the first cases on ADP for this product with Transamerica. And we also, like, if you have clients that are on these platforms and, it's a bear for them to build things on their platforms, understand that, like, our team assists with that integration. So, like, for example, if they're on Paycom, we'll build the product right on Paycom, for them. So just understand that our team is here to assist with that. I just wanted to make sure everybody know that we have those type of resources.
In addition to the life with the living benefits rider, just wanted to just provide one quick slide here just to make sure everyone who's not familiar with Transamerica is aware of all of the different benefits that we offer. So in addition to this, we do offer group term life and disability insurance. So life, absence, and disability, would love opportunities for that, as well as supplemental health products like accident, critical illness, hospital indemnity insurance. So we can go through through any of those conversations as well. If you do bundle our voluntary benefits with group life and disability, there's potential for bundling discounts. And then there's also a unique bundling opportunity with Transamerica retirement plans. So I would say, as you're going out to RFP on accounts, to identify who their retirement plan record keeper is. It's not something that's typically asked by a lot of the consultants that we work with, and there could be opportunity there if they're a Transamerica client. So just something to keep an eye out for as well.
Hey, just before we wrap it up for questions, just a few things to know. If with many of our broker partners, we actually create a proactive approach for the Life with Living Benefits program. We have an email campaign that can go out to your clients to educate them about the availability of this for their employees. We usually get pretty good response from it. So if any of you may be interested in working with us on that proactive approach, it's really a pretty easy and systematic way to gain some pipeline for these cases that could utilize this program. Feel free to reach out to me and we can schedule a time to talk about that. And just keep in mind the Voluntary Benefits Shop is here to help you with any of the voluntary benefits needs that you may have for clients, whether it be a need for enrollment platform, recommendation, etc. I did want to say one last thing on this product, Matt. We talked about the Universal Life product here today, but that living benefit rider can also be built on a whole life product, or even the Transamerica Term Life product can also have this living benefit rider in many states as well. So just know that if for some reason the Universal Life's not a fit, the whole life and the Term Life can also have that living benefit rider on it as well. Matt, could you go to the next slide? I think we have, just to wrap up before we get into questions, guys, here's my contact information here. And you also have, here's our upcoming webinars. Next Thursday, we have Flimp talking about employee engagement tools through Flimp Communications. They have some great digital postcards that are great for open enrollment campaigns. If you haven't talked to Flimp, please check that out. March 31st, we have Genomic Life Cancer Guardian. That's not a cancer insurance product. It's a genetic testing product. Very, very innovative, great for self-insured clients, can really help control benefit spend, some great resources. If you're not familiar with that product, you should check it out. On April 14th, we have a new hospital product from Aflac Group that includes mental health and substance abuse care coverage, first of its kind. And that's from a partnership with TrueSight Health. We're going to have TrueSight Health on to talk about that product. So with all the conversation about mental health out there, and again, substance abuse care, that'll be a great one. And then we have Allstate on the 28th to talk about life with long-term care and the proposed Washington State LTC tax that's been talked about in a lot of other states as well. So those are the next 4 upcoming webinars. You'll receive email, reminders about those, but just wanted to make sure that you knew that those were coming up as well. With that said, Chelsea, are there any questions in the chat?
We only have one question from Mark. He is questioning if it's 5 ADLs or 6.
It actually is. Well, Matt, you want to answer that? I believe it's 6.
Oh yeah, it is. Sorry about that.
That's okay. Yeah, it's 6 ADLs, and it's 2 or more of the 6 ADLs or cognitive impairment, either one. Good question, Mark. Anything else?
That looks like it's it.
Hey, and Matt, if you could just go back one slide. Again, everybody, I want to thank you so much for our time. Here's my contact information if you want to reach out to us with any questions you have about voluntary benefits, about this product or anything else. We really do appreciate you taking a half hour out of your day to spend some time with us today. And just let us know if we can help you. Thanks so much.